Hello everyone, Jim Kerris from smilesforcinephiles here again. This video is the third part in my series on the film Cool Hand Luke, and will be an analysis of Luke's personal belief system. During the film, Luke's belief structure is never directly stated. My first video and most other analyses online have concluded that Luke is an atheist. Let's start with the case supporting this proposition. Firstly, let's have a definition for what an atheist is. Anyone who does not affirm the proposition, at least one God exists. This definition is specific and precise, but it is convoluted. It is constructed this way because an atheist does not actually have to do anything to confirm that they are an atheist, as it is the lack of a belief system. It is speaking the phrase, at least one God exists, or one similar to it, that confirms a person as a theist, the opposite of an atheist. This strict adherence to logic technically renders Luke an atheist, as he does not speak these words or one similar to them. Now, this is only a film, and we cannot expect to have every affirmation of all beliefs in such a limited dialogue. However, I would argue that this particular affirmation is extremely relevant to the plot. The ambiguity makes us ask questions of Luke, drawing us in and making his character intriguing. The film is an exposition of his relationship with authority after all, be it paternal, peer group, penal, military, or theological. Is there indirect evidence that Luke is an atheist? Let's look at this scene.
Are you still believing that big bearded boss up there? You think he's watching us?
We will pause right here and add the quote in for effect. Luke is asking Dragline if he believes in an omnipotent deity. He does not state that he himself does not, but he does imply it by comparing Dragline's beliefs as a juxtaposition to his own. This scene concludes with,
Just standing in the rain, talking to myself.
"Just standing in the rain, talking to myself." This statement is a more direct implication that no God exists, but it could also mean simply that God isn't listening to him. This next scene is indirect evidence that Luke is an atheist, in which another character states his perceived position.
I tell you, don't believe in no God, Luke.
We will discount the double negative in this sentence due to the content of the next line of dialogue.
I was wondering how come a nice clean-cut young fella like you gets to be put on the hard road. Now I reckon I knows.
He believes Luke has been put on the chain gang as a punishment for not having a belief in God. Also, in this conversation, Luke does not correct the guard. He could just simply say, "I do believe in God, I just don't think he's listening," or something similar. He has a perfect opportunity to address the issue, but chooses not to. Maybe he doesn't want to have the conversation with his oppressors. Again, maybe this line of conversation was omitted for ambiguity, or to prevent controversy. I have now laid out all the evidence supporting the case that Luke is an atheist. So are there any other forms of belief that Luke could be aligned with? He could be agnostic. Again, let's start with the definition. An agnostic is a person who doesn't know if gods exist or don't exist. But wait, isn't that the same as an atheist? No, it is not. Knowing gods exist or don't exist is related to, but different from, believing that gods exist or don't exist. In these specific terms, during most of the film, Luke is 100% an agnostic. He simply does not know if God exists. If we go back to the rain scene, we see Luke asking for proof that God exists.
Let me know you're up there, come on! Love me, hate me, kill me, anything! Just let me know it!
He does not know for sure. At the end of the film, in the church, again, Luke asks for proof.
Anybody here? Hey old man, you home tonight?
Okay, so Luke is a confirmed agnostic. We will now consider if Luke is a theist, that is, a person who believes in God or gods. As it is unstated directly, we will look at the indirect evidence. Luke prays in the church at the end of the film. Prayer is a means of talking with God. It would be pointless praying if you didn't think there was a God to hear you. This conversation could also be Luke talking with his father, and it is well worth watching the whole film again with this in mind. Luke also prays in the ditch digging scene.
God, I pray to God you don't hit me anymore.
However, to say that this is anything other than a coerced prayer would be foolish. "For God's sake, don't hit me anymore" is more of a turn of phrase rather than a heartfelt plea to God, and the guards jump upon this to guarantee his conformity to their beliefs with fear of a beating if he resists their will. So how does one heartfelt prayer stack up against 3 statements of a lack of belief in God and a non-rebuttal of an accusation of being faithless? Well, the prayer comes at the end of the film, just before Luke dies, and there is no time for a change of mind. So it could be concluded that Luke is in fact a theist. Let's take a closer look at the scene leading up to the prayer. As Luke parts company with Dragline, the Peter figure and rock of faith, he receives a sign from God. No, he doesn't, I hear you say. Look again. He has to walk past the church and over the bridge away from it. He then hears a loud sound from the heavens. He turns to see the church. He has been called back to it. If we flash back to the raining scene, Luke identifies the thunder as being the big bearded boss.
You can't talk about him that way!
Are you still believing that big bearded boss up there? You think he's watching us?
What does he ask the thunder god?
Love me, hate me, kill me, anything. Just let me know it.
He gets his answer as a sign he is taking the wrong path. Luke has found his faith. He chooses the path to the church and he goes to pray. Once inside, Luke asks for a sign from God.
Anybody here?
And again, God responds. It is faint, but you do hear another heavenly reply from the thunder god. He asks his questions.
Just where am I supposed to fit in? When does it end? What do you got in mind for me? What do I do now?
And gets his answer. Dragline, or Peter, the rock of faith, is his answer.
That's your answer, old man?
Luke is a theist whose journey throughout the film began as an agnostic. He did not know if God exists. He asked questions of God, has found God, and has received his answers. However, he doesn't like these answers, and instead chooses to continue to challenge man's authority. And, for his troubles, he gets it in the neck from the God-free boss, the man with no soul. He walks out into the light, aided by his rock of faith. As he is carted off to his fate, we see him smiling. In previous analysis, this reaction has been seen as confusing, but it makes perfect sense if Luke has found his faith. He is off to meet his maker. As Luke passes, the signal lights change from go to stop. Luke's light has gone out. I was quite surprised that, on closer consideration, Luke dies as a man of faith, as I had always just assumed the opposite. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell for notifications. Acknowledgements. Thanks must go to Matt from Logos Made Flesh for suggesting another possibility for Luke's beliefs. Check out his awesome channel for loads of high quality videos and excellent theological analysis of some big films in Hollywood. A link is in the description. Thanks also to thoughtco.com for the definitions used in this video, and thank you all for watching. See you again soon.